Al-Qaeda-affiliated groups have been taking advantage of the ongoing civil war by gaining control over various chunks of northern Syria. RT's Guyane Chichikan now investigating how the uprising's breathing a whole new life into the militant organization.
While Washington says it has crippled al-Qaeda in Afghanistan and Pakistan, rising from the ashes of the Arab Spring is new al-Qaeda. Different affiliated groups metastasizing in the Middle East and Africa, feeling more and more comfortable in countries torn apart by terror. In the north of Syria, on the territories presumably controlled by the rebels, the al-Qaeda-affiliated al-Nusra is planning to announce an Islamic State. Terror is not the only way they're winning support there. Al-Qaeda is exercising its soft power too, somewhere between preaching terror. Here you see militants doing some ice cream diplomacy with children. An al-Qaeda-sponsored ice cream contest for kids. What could be more innocent? Al-Qaeda-minded or affiliated groups feel very comfortable in the post-revolution chaos of Libya. In Iraq, after a decade of civil war, Al-Qaeda still stages terror on a regular basis. In less than a week, more than 2,000 prisoners, many of them Al-Qaeda fighters, have escaped from prisons in Iraq, Libya, and Pakistan. Those were violent raids. Around the same time, Washington closed almost 24 of its missions in the Middle East and Africa, fearing some major terrorist attack. And yet, at the same time, Washington says this.
As a result of the enormous pressure we've put on the group, we've eliminated all of al-Qaeda's senior leadership in Afghanistan and Pakistan. And because the current leaders of al-Qaeda core are so worried about their personal safety, they're far less able to plan attacks.
The question some ask is, how can Washington simultaneously be so paranoid about the war on terror and be so dismissive of the threat of terror at the same time? In different countries, the U.S. has repeatedly put the threat of terror on the back burner for some greater goal. In Afghanistan, the goal was to defeat the Soviet Union. The U.S. directly helped al-Qaeda and bin Laden there. In Iraq, the goal was to get rid of Saddam Hussein. There was no al-Qaeda in Iraq before the civil war broke out following the U.S. invasion. Now in Syria, the greater goal is to remove Assad from power. Too often would helping al-Qaeda, directly or indirectly, become the trade-off that the U.S. was willing to make to achieve a greater goal, whatever it was. But having made the trade-off, the U.S. would then spend decades fighting what it had spurred. In Washington, I'm Guyane Chichikan.
And we had a chat with Colin Cavell, the author of Exporting Made in America Democracy. He believes that Washington's badly mistaken in its current handling of al-Qaeda.
Al-Qaeda is merely an instrument that the United States has developed, utilized, and facilitated since its origins in Afghanistan. We funded these foreign mercenaries, these jihadists. Our security agencies believe that they are so skilled that they can manipulate these jihadists to their own ends. But it's a cynical paternalism that many of the jihadists should be aware of, because they see them as easily manipulatable. But as we saw with September 11th, 2001, the attacks on the United States and other attacks, that is not the case. There will be blowback because these fighters have their own goals to achieve, and it does not include any type of alliance with the United States. They will take direction from the United States in their current goal to overthrow Bashar al-Assad in Syria. They will take the money from the Gulf kingdoms and pocket it. But should they gain any power and any sort of stability, you can expect that they will strike back.